Buddhadhamma, the laws of nature and their benefits to life. Bhinkhu Payutto, Somdet Pra Buddha Akosacharya, translated by Robin Philip Moore. 1.5, Chapter 1, the 5 aggregates. 1.6, Chapter 1, the 5 aggregates. 1.5 is the 5 aggregates and clinging to the 5 aggregates. In the Buddha's elucidation of the Four Noble Truths, encapsulating the essence of Theravada Buddhism, there is a noteworthy reference to the 5 clinging aggregates, the 5 skandhas, found in the teaching on the First Noble Truth, on suffering. At the beginning of Gautama Buddha's explanation of the First Noble Truth, he defines dukkha by citing various examples and circumstances which are easily recognizable and a part of people's everyday lives. At the end of this discussion, however, he summarizes the entirety of suffering into the single phrase. The 5 skandhas, 5 aggregates of clinging, upadana khandha, or suffering. Bhikkhus, this is the noble truth of dukkha. Birth is dukkha. Aging is dukkha. Death is dukkha. Association with the dislike is dukkha. Separation from the like is dukkha. Not to get what one wants is dukkha. In brief, the clinging to the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates, is dukkha. Here, let us look at the distinction between the term skandha by itself, as opposed to the term upadana khandha, by examining these words of Gautama Buddha. Bhikkhus, I will teach you the 5 skandhas and the 5 skandhas subject to clinging. Listen attentively. What are the 5 skandhas? Whatever kind of form, whatever kind of feeling, whatever kind of perception, whatever kind of volitional formations, consciousness there is, whether in the past, whether in the future, or whether in present, whether internal or external, whether gross or subtle, whether inferior or superior, whether far or whether near. These are called the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates. What are the 5 skandhas of clinging? Whatever kind of form, feeling, perception, volitional formation, consciousness there is, whether in the past, whether in the future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, that is tainted, sawa, accompanied by mental taints, that is a foundation for clinging, upadaniya. These are called the 5 skandhas of clinging. Briefly, to give a defined description of the 5 skandhas of clinging. The 5 skandhas, or 5 aggregates of clinging, are rupa, form. This is the physical aspect of human experience, including the body and external objects. According to Vedana, which is feeling, this refers to a pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensation that arises from contact with the environment. Sanya is the perception. It is the process of recognizing and labeling objects and experiences. Sankhara is volitional formations. It is the mental constructs and intentions that shape our experience and actions. And then vijnana is the state of being aware or perceiving. Sasawa or asawa is mental impurities. They are the foundation for attachment and ignorance, which creates the cycle of dukkha. The asawa translates to accompanied by taints or with taints. These are the condition of the mental states that are influenced by tanha, hatred, aversion, craving, aversion, and ignorance. These taints are considered fundamental pollutants of the mind, distort perception, and lead to dukkha. We could describe craving and hatred and ignorance as dirt in a glass of pure, clear water. So the dirt or the craving is added to the pure water, and it becomes tainted, hard to see clear through the water until the dirt, the craving, until the dirt, the hatred, aversion, until the dirt, the ignorance is removed from the water. The presence of asawa, mental impurities, indicates that the individual is still subject to influences of these mental defilements. The sensuality taints are called kamasawa. These arise to attachment to sensory pleasures. The taints of want to become is bhava-sawa. The desire of existence to becoming something in the future. And then we have the taints of ignorance, avijja-sawa. These are considered the root cause of other taints, and it goes in depth. The other taints of ignorance about the true nature of reality that leads to dukkha. And then classified in certain texts, not all the texts, but some texts, are taints of views, ditta sawa. This includes fixed views or wrong perceptions about self and existence. Now, if we look to what the fundamental teachings of what position Buddhism, that all forms of dukkha stem from these taints, with ignorance being the most significant contributor, as stated in various sutras, including the Sammatiti Sutra. With the arising of ignorance, there is a rising of taints. With the cessation of ignorance, there is a cessation of taints. Moreover, Bhikkhus, I will teach you the foundation for clinging. And clinging itself, listen attentively. Form, feeling, perception, volitional formation, consciousness is a foundation for clinging. The desire and lust, chanda, raja, delight, or intense desire accumulating in attachment for form, accumulating attachment for feeling, accumulating attachment for perception, accumulating attachment for volitional formation, accumulated attachment for consciousness is the clinging. This distinction between the 5 skandhas and the 5 skandhas of clinging is an important principle required for a deep study of the Buddhadhamma. Es dharmo santano. This is the eternal law. Chapter 1, 1.6, the practical application. Ordinary human beings are inclined to believe that they possess a true and lasting self in some form or another. Some people attach to their mind as the self. In the Gautama Buddha's own words, it would be better, Bhikkhus, for the uninstructed worldling to take as self this body composed of the 4 great elements, rather than the mind. This is because the body composed of the 4 great elements is seen standing for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4, 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years, for 100 years, or even longer. But that which is called the mind, the citta, mentality, mano, or the consciousness, vijnana, arises and ceases perpetually by day and by night. Some believe that something exists separate and yet somehow connected to the mind, the citta. When acts on another level, which acts on another level to be responsible for and to control the body and the mind. The exposition of the 5 skandhas is intended to reveal how that which is called a being, a person, or self, when it is closely examined and analyzed, is simply comprised of these 5 components. There is no residual essence or substance existing separated from these 5. And even these 5 aggregates, skandhas, exist within an interdependent relationship. They do not exist independently. They are not autonomous. Therefore, these skandhas too do not function or exist at a stable, substantial self. In some, the teaching of the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates, refer to the principle of anatta, non-self, and not self, the selflessness. The human life consists of convergence of various elements or parts. There exists no substantial self as unifying principle or central point of these parts. None of the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates, or the other components, etc., exists as a stable, lasting self. and no such self exists apart from them. When one gains insight into this truth, one lets go of one's attachment to self. This principle of non-self is clarified in the teaching on dependent origination in relation to the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates. Furthermore, when one understands that the 5 skandhas exist in an interrelated, interdependent manner, one does not develop the wrong views of either annihilationism, ucheta titi, or eternalism, sa-sa-ta titi. Moreover, this understanding also leads to a correct understanding. Understanding the works of Kamma. In this correlation is workings of Kamma is the working of actions that arise. Again, the teaching on dependent origination explains this interrelationship and interdependence in more depth, in more detail. Examining things by separating them into the 5 skandhas helps to train one's thinking abilities, and it nurtures the disposition to analyze the truth. When one encounters or engages with something, one does not look simply at surface appearance. Instead, one inclines toward investigation and inquiry of deeper truths. And critically, this examination leads to an objective discernment of things, to see things as they are. This is in contrast to a subjective understanding, by which one relates to things by way of clinging or craving, tanha, and grasping, tanha upatana, and sees things according to one's preferences and aversions. An objective understanding, hence objective understanding, is the goal of the Buddhadhamma. And of this teaching on the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates, rather than relating to things by way of attachment, by way of craving, or by way of grasping, one relates to them by way of panya, wisdom. In any case, Gautama Buddha normally did not teach about the 5 skandhas in isolation. In most cases, the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates, are the chief factors of consideration within the context of other principles and teachings, which acts as the criteria for contemplating and determining the nature and function of these skandhas, these aggregates. The 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates, need to be examined in relation to other principles. The principle of anatta, the non-self, in order to fully appreciate their value on a practical level. The benefits of such contemplation will become clear in subsequent chapters. Anumotana.